So we are now halfway through the first season of the Daryl Dixon spinoff, and I gotta say I really enjoyed this episode. I think we get to see really the best of what the Walking Dead franchise has to offer right now, which is a higher production value than we got last year with the final season of The Walking Dead. And we're seeing a bunch of new locations. We're getting much more interesting zombie work. This has some of the best zombie action that we've gotten from the franchise in a long time. There's particularly this scene at the beginning that has some of the most creative things they've ever done with zombies, which I really enjoyed. Didn't necessarily do anything for the story, but it's really fun as a zombie fan to get a scene like that. We got another scene later where they actually do something creative with the burner concept they introduced in the first episode. We got variant zombies that can burn your skin, and in this episode they actually do something creative with that idea. A unique sequence in the series that I really enjoyed so far. But you can see on the screen right now just the up in production value, and just it's so refreshing to see, castles and rivers, and we've been so used to just seeing the woods every season for a long time now on the franchise, so it's really refreshing to get out there. And we got an interesting story here. It's a character piece between Daryl and this character Isabel, who I think is one of the better new characters in the Walking Dead franchise in recent years. So it's interesting to see the interplay between them. And I was surprised that this episode kind of ends the journey where Daryl was supposed to bring the child Laurent to Paris, and this is the episode where that happens. And then there's seemingly a point where Daryl and Isabel are going to part ways, but of course the episode manages to bring them, force them together through the situation that they're in. So it's an interesting setup, and I think that there's some creative stuff in this episode, and I'm really excited to see the rest of the season. So let me know what you guys think of this episode in the comment section down below. But with that, we're going to break into the breakdown. So this teaser scene is my favorite part of the episode still. It's a fun little just kind of off the wall sequence. We got this crazy guy here. They're trying to find a radio. Daryl needs to find a radio. I'm not sure exactly what he's hoping to achieve by getting a radio. There's somebody he knows that he can get in contact with the radio. There's a lot of things we don't find out in this episode. How did Daryl get to France? Why is he here in particular? All these questions we still have that we need answered before I can give a final verdict on whether I recommend the show or not. It's very contingent on how all that plays out and if it actually makes sense and is justified. It's still a big question mark at this point. I think Greg Nicotero said we're supposed to find that out in episode 4, so next week will be the week we find that out. But we don't know a lot of things about what Daryl's mission is, why he needs a radio so badly. But we go into a theater, and there's a stage play going on. The radio that's there has been torn apart to get parts for this crazy show with zombies playing instruments. And I just absolutely love this. It felt a little off the wall, but it really felt like George Romero energy, the later parts of his career with some crazy things going on. And we even got a zombie here that's chained to somebody else. So that's another creative zombie thing. We got, I think Greg Nicotero's on this show. He wants to push the zombie thing forward. And I just absolutely love all the instruments we got here. We got this intestine strewn about, and he's hung up by his intestines here. We got a zombie face playing the harp. We got zombies I'm guessing they're strapped back so they can't move forward. But he wants this zombie here with, I'm not sure what this instrument is, cello or something. I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know instruments like that. But this guy, he wants to lunge toward the conductor, right? So he's playing just without even thinking about it. So it's a discordant sound, but he's saying that this is a twisted version of keeping music and culture alive. This guy's absolutely nuts. Only nitpick I have with this scene is there's a lot of electricity going on. We got stage lights. Where is he getting that from? And that's kind of a continuing theme throughout the episode. But other places in this episode, it makes more sense because it's a big group of people. You can assume they're trading with this big group, and they have fuel and whatnot to fuel that kind of stuff. But that again, this is a small nitpick. I can deal with that. But we got a zombie torso who is playing, cymbals and stuff. You can see I moved my face there so you can see. I just, this scene, man, I love this scene. This is one of my favorite scenes in Walking Dead in a long time. So I think it's really fun. And we even got zombies with just brass instruments shoved down their throat. So when they groan, it plays. got a zombie attached to an accordion. It's just so good, man. This episode could have been just that scene, and I would have said, good episode, that was awesome. So like I said, it doesn't do anything for the story. I don't care. It's awesome. I loved it. Loved every second of it. So this scene walking into the Paris here, it kind of reminded me a little bit of London in 28 Days Later, you know, and it's, I love the way they made up all of these sets. They did a really great job. And now we're listening to a French version of a Doors song, sung by the Doors, Jim Morrison. And here we're talking about who's buried in the cemetery, and it looks like the real cemetery that it is set in. And we got Jim Morrison's grave that we walked by. I didn't actually know that he was buried there. So that's something I learned from this episode. I looked it up to see if it was true, and I think it is, and I think it is the actual grave we're looking at. So, you know, the authenticity of the area, and they have extra places later in the episode where we're in the catacombs, and we're talking about the history of the city that we're in. So it's not just like, oh, we're in Paris, it looks cool. We're going a step deeper and actually incorporating some of that into the storyline. So, you know, the Jim Morrison grave is kind of symbolic. Daryl, an American in Paris, and I've talked before about how American in Paris is kind of an allusion to the history of founding fathers coming over to Paris and stuff. It's a journey of self-discovery. So, you know, we're looking at a dead American in Paris, and Daryl's wondering if that's going to be him. So, and Laurent tells a story of somebody who, somebody wrote a story, somebody who's buried there wrote a story that there's a woodworker who wanted to die, and then he ended up passing his burdens on to other people and getting help from other people. So that's probably symbolic of what's going to happen with Daryl here. You know, he was a lone wolf in the woods for a lot of the show, so I think that that's an allusion there. And then we end up in this new rooftop community that is kind of self-sufficient. We got crops, we got kids, and it's a pretty cool community. I like the way they dressed it up. And there's an artist guy who's the head of the group, and they're using carrier pigeons, which is cool concept, and there is a historical precedent for using carrier pigeons to carry messages. As crazy as that might sound to you if you've never heard of this before, this is a thing people actually have done in history, and it did work. You know, in the battlefield, they would carry messages in carrier pigeons like this, so it is a thing that happened. So they're trying to send off a message. I'm not sure what the message is, if it's Daryl needs a boat or something like that. But then we got Laurent, and he's, of course, the Messiah is what the nuns and Father Jean said. And the word has gotten to this community about this kid, and everybody wants to come to see him to give him gifts. And it's kind of an allusion to the life of Christ and the birth of Christ, that people would, the three kings came to give gifts to Christ and stuff like that. And then Laurent looks up and sees somebody who's suffering, who had a recent loss, and he goes over to comfort them. And he's the one who's able to comfort this lady, even though others have tried and failed before. And the leader of the community says that he's right. So we got another scene kind of justifying their beliefs there, or at least giving some sort of explanation for it. And then we get a scene with Cordon, I believe. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but I think that's how they pronounce it in this episode. But the main antagonist is going to meet with the big bad, who's possibly CRM. I didn't notice any confirmation in this episode. We got zombie experiments going on, and we saw our first fast zombie in this episode right there, and I'm really not sure exactly what goes on here. We'll get back to that when we get to it. But basically, this scene, you could boil it down to Cordon shows the recording of Daryl still being alive, and then he says, I'm going to get him, I'm determined, and the reason I'm determined is because the American killed my brother. Apparently, he made a promise to his parents that he would look out for his brother, and now he feels like he's a liar. So, you know, again, that's just a quick setup scene. But I gotta say, this lady, I've mentioned it before, but she just looks exactly like the woman from World Beyond who played the CRM lady. I think it's too close. It's a bit repetitive, and I even wearing the same outfit, the hair is the same. It's a bit too close in my opinion. We need something a little different there, but you know, it works, I guess. So we got the zombie experiment, and the fast zombie here. The scientist is timing him on a stopwatch, and they seem to have, I suppose, injected it with something, and then the zombie is able to pull the chains off the wall, and he splatters himself on the glass and seems to combust. So I don't know what they did to him to make him explode like that. So maybe these fast zombies are kind of created in a way, or they turn regular zombies into these. I don't know what this means. I don't know why there's a head in a jar. It's cool though. I'm just a little confused what's going on. I want to understand it better. And I gotta wonder, if they knew this fast zombie was coming, why they would have glass that he could maybe break. Because he could pull those chains off the wall. That's pretty strong, maybe even stronger than a regular human. So I don't know. Something weird is going on here. I'm not exactly sure what to make of it. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. But now we're going back to Isabel's old apartment that we saw in the flashback. And we saw her load up a box full of valuables that she stole from other people. And that's what they're here to get, because they need something for Daryl to trade with to get on the boat. So now we're learning, Daryl's learning about her past, about the sister, the mother of Laurent. And we see the photograph there. And then we kind of have a connecting moment where they're talking about their past lives and how they were broken in the past. And I think it was a really good scene. I like Daryl's interaction here. He's a man of few words, but he says a lot with a little. And I like their bonding moment here, and they realize that there's kind of more similarities than they realized. And then we had a setup in the flashback scene of this girl that Isabel left behind, so we have a regret for her to feel bad about. And the little girl is, of course, a zombie now. And she hesitates killing the zombie. She stops Daryl from doing it, and that ends up being their undoing. So this hesitation, it's a recurring theme on the show. Hesitation and sympathy for a threat is going to bite you in the ass, basically. So the girl knocks over some pots, and that startles the rest of the zombies. We got zombies falling from above, and it was really cool. I liked that. I mean, we had a bit of that in Dead City, the first episode, and then they didn't do anything more with that. I like seeing the zombies come in through the windows, and these are burner zombies. I alluded to it in my intro, and then they use the burner zombie to burn through these vines to open this door. So that's something creative. They went the extra mile and actually did something with the burner zombies. So that was pretty cool. The only thing that bugged me with this scene is Isabel just kind of stands around, even though we've seen her fight already. I don't know why she didn't take more action in this scene. It just feels a little out of place, but I get we want Daryl to kind of be the hero in this scene, and that's what he is. And it was a cool scene. I really liked the zombie action and the creativity in this episode here with the zombies. Really, really appreciate it. We need more of that in the show overall. So now we're going to a nightclub to hopefully find somebody who can get a boat to America. So I just love the scenery, cool murals in the background, and then we're going through the catacombs where the Black Death, the corpses from the Black Death are laid down. So we got a bunch of skulls, and of course, you know, I've seen this stuff on documentary footage before, but it's very creepy, gothic kind of thing. And I love the leader of the community, the rooftop community. He mentions that was like another apocalypse. It was a life-changing, world-changing event that was worldwide, and Paris survived that. And he talks about how America's a young country by comparison, and he says that, you know, Paris will survive that. So we got a nightclub scene here. Not a good place to take the kid, Laurent. Maybe he should have left him home, because there's some saucy dancers going on. And we got a drag queen, which it fits in with the Paris nightclub aesthetic. So, it's a bit of a trend nowadays. You see it everywhere. But I think it fits in with this atmosphere. It doesn't bother me at all. But I like this scene. I mean, it's cool that and here's something we got a little extra, where we see a famous painting on the wall. And there was even one earlier in the CRM lady's place, maybe. There's like this famous French Revolution painting. I don't know the name of it offhand, but there was a painting in the background, and I had to wonder if it was the real one, and I'm assuming that it is. And it's cool that they have this cultural thing just in a nightclub randomly. Somebody must have stolen it and give it to them. This is the Water Lilies. It's a famous painting, and they remark about it. You know, it's kind of fun that Isabel is showing how she's changed, you know, given that there's all this, her former life is behind her in this shot, and she's looking at a painting, like a cultural thing, and that I suppose that ties in with the intro scene, keeping culture alive in this undead world. So I thought it was a cool scene. I enjoyed it. And then we got this shady guy who's supposedly going to get them connected with somebody with a boat. And then it goes badly, and they end up pulling a knife out. And then the boss of the bar comes down, and it is Isabel's ex-boyfriend. And there's some drama there. We got a lot of coincidences on the Walking Dead franchise where, people will get separated and then they'll find each other again. It seems unlikely, but you know what? I'm willing to give this one a pass. It's just with so many instances of this happening in the franchise, it gets to be a bit much. But you know what? We set this up. We're going to pay it off. It's cool. I like it. This guy is kind of shady. Is he going to be an antagonist, or how bad is this guy? We find out that he's actually Laurent's father, and he actually, I suppose, hooked up with Isabel's sister, infidelity and whatnot. So, and he talks to Isabel like she knew that, even though she didn't. So that's interesting. I like the drama there. We got the singer Laurent takes a liking to, and then she gives him a necklace for Paris. He's really excited. And I got a remark here again. I really like how they're writing Laurent like an actual child. And he's always going on about random facts that he knows. He sees the Eiffel Tower in the distance, and he says how many rivulets, something he read in a book about the Eiffel Tower is pretty cool. Oh, and they added some history that the Eiffel Tower got damaged by a military helicopter, which feels like, I feel like they would know it was there. I don't know. Maybe we'll see that in a flashback or something. That'd be kind of cool. But yeah, I like the writing here. I think it's pretty solid. And we end up in a negotiating room with the bar owner, ex-boyfriend guy. And it quickly goes out of hand and gets a little tense. And he seems to want something from Isabel. I don't know what exactly that is. I think it's just he is saying that a son needs to see his father. So he's asking to be in Laurent's life, and she doesn't want that because, he's kind of the antithesis of what she wants Laurent to be, right? Laurent's supposed to be this kind of saintly messiah figure, and we have a nightclub owner who's shady and cuts people's noses, which is what he did down there because it's against the rule to have weapons in his bar. So, there's some tension there already. Daryl kind of plays the hero and says we need to get out of here. And I like this scene out here where Isabel's angry and says she doesn't need a hero. So we're getting some drama there. It feels a little forced, but I suppose with the tension of the situation, it makes sense. So we're back at the rooftop community, and then the soldiers end up at the bar. They're looking for the American. And of course, Quinn, the ex-boyfriend, gives them up right away and says that they're at the rooftop community. And then Daryl has an argument with Isabel. They're about to part ways in this scene, and then the script, of course, right on time, gets them to stick together. Daryl's basically, his beef is that he wants Isabel to tell the truth. He's been telling her this all season, and you gotta tell that kid. He's not really in favor of this kid being a messiah figure. He says it's too much pressure to put on a kid. Daryl says he's just a normal kid, and he got lucky. And there's just that clash of worldviews there. But also, really, what bothers Daryl the most is the deceit aspect. And that makes sense. I think most of us would agree with that. And then the soldiers show up, and we get separated from Laurent. He just manages to climb away. Little nitpick is that I feel like they would have looked over at him right away as soon as the soldiers show up. That's their first concern. So I don't know that, I get they can't fit the same way that he did because he's small, right? But it looks like they didn't even notice him do that. So that was a little awkward of a stage direction there. And then all chaos breaks loose, and I love the aesthetics of these rooftop scenes. We have the rain going on, and then we got a very convenient stormtrooper aim, of course. Well, we got another fight with Daryl and Cordon, and then Daryl seems to have him pinned, and then they're getting shot at, and and Isabel's looking for Laurent, and then Daryl manages to get away. Convenient stormtrooper aim, like I said, And that seems to be pretty much the episode. I think this episode's a solid 7 or 8 out of 10, and depending on how this season shakes out, that's probably going to be the average score. So far, I like it better than Dead City. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching, everybody. Peace out.